Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circlebark Berkeley. Here with the coach today, Aaron. Goes hi, Aaron.
Hi, if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you think.
Yep, we're on our way to 250 subscribers, so your subscription means a lot in helping us reach that goal. And it helps you know when to come back and tell us we were wrong. But
All right.
no, probably not. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So in this video, we'll be doing another division ranking video. This time, we'll be going over the NFC South, consisting of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, and New Orleans Saints. Last year, obviously, this division was a battle of the mid. The Bucs were able to sneak out with the division title, just overcoming the Saints with the tiebreaker, both of the teams finishing 9-8. Meanwhile, the Panthers were the worst team in the league, finishing with the #1 pick in the draft that they were not allowed to use because it went to Chicago. And then the Atlanta Falcons was the third team in the division, where they just had no quarterback, and honestly, really no coach that knew what he was doing, at least. So they got rid of both those guys and brought in 2 new guys. So hopefully Atlanta can figure it out. Tampa Bay will probably be right around the same level they were last year. Panthers probably the same, unfortunately. And then the Saints is kind of a mystery. But let's go ahead and look at the schedules for each of these teams and make our decisions on who we think is going to come out on top in the division. Go look at our first team. Alright, so starting off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like I mentioned last year, the Buccaneers were able to come away with the AFC South crown. Only won 9 games to get it. So they're looking to still, take that next step and, maybe get to that double-digit win mark this year. However, I don't think that's quite in the cards for Tampa Bay. I do have them winning their first game against Washington. Obviously, Washington will be starting rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. Outside of him, the team's almost every position feels like it's new, except for Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson Jr. But outside of that, basically the whole team in Washington feels like they're new. So I expect them to get off to a rough start and probably honestly still not have that great of a season. So Tampa Bay should win week 1. However, you got a tough game right after that with Detroit at Detroit. So I think you lose that, go to 1-1 on the year, before losing a weird one to Denver. Obviously, I could see you guys winning this one. I would honestly I bet you guys are expecting to win this one. I've got Denver being pretty bad this year, but I do think they sneak out this one game just purely based on being able to run the football effectively, hopefully. And then also, and maybe Cortland Sutton can get going. Maybe Troy Franklin can get going. But yeah, I think this is going to be a closer game in week 3 than it probably should be. I think Denver's defense is a little underrated. However, they did lose some key pieces in Josie Jewell and Justin Simmons. But the Buccaneers don't have the best running game. And I think with Patrick Surtain and that secondary outside of him, I think Denver should be able to contain most of what Tampa Bay can do. So I've got Denver sneaking out a win in week 3. But then I've got you winning one at Tampa, or winning one against Philadelphia. And this is purely because y'all beat them in the playoffs last year. This is probably one you guys could lose. So kind of the opposite of what I said for Denver. If you want to switch the results for these 2 weeks, by all means do that. But regardless, I've got you starting the season off 2-2. Before walking into Atlanta and facing Atlanta Kirk Cousins for the first time on the road. I think you probably drop that one and hopefully should pick that back up later in the season when you host them in Tampa Bay. Then you got at New Orleans. I don't think New Orleans is going to be very good this season, so I've got you sweeping them this year. getting the first of your 2 wins against them in week 6. Before a tough game against Baltimore, I think you'll lose. Pick that win back up against Atlanta. Before another tough game on the road this time at Kansas City. Before playing San Francisco the week after that, so you'll probably drop both of those. And I've got you heading into the bye with a 4-6 record, so a little under 500. But granted, you've played some really tough teams: Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Detroit. So tough schedule there in the first 10 weeks before the bye. I think you come out with 2 back-to-back wins against the Giants and Carolina. Should both be easily winnable games. I do have you dropping another one to Vegas and the Chargers. So I actually have you getting swept by the AFC West this year. Partially because, you'll be going cross-country to the Chargers, so I think that'll contribute a lot to that loss there. As for the Raiders game, I have I probably have unnecessarily high expectations for that Raiders defense. I think it's going to be borderline top 10 this year, and I think Gardner Minshew, with the supporting cast on offense, is going to be able to do just enough to win them that game. I have you losing to Dallas and then picking up 2 wins to finish the season versus Carolina and New Orleans, sweeping both of those teams. So I've got you finishing 8-9, one more loss than you had last year, 1 less win than you had last year, but right around the same mark. And I think a lot of it's just because you're playing some tough teams like Kansas City, San Francisco, Philadelphia. Obviously, you could pick some wins up against Vegas and the Chargers that I didn't account for, but I don't see you winning more than 10 games, maybe, as your ceiling. But I think it's probably going to be closer to 8-9.
Where'd your faith in Baker go?
Dude,
you ride him to the playoffs, and then you just jump ship.
I've got him beating Philadelphia. I've got you want me to have the Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco? Like, what am I supposed to do there?
You got him beating Philly and then losing to Vegas and the Chargers.
Okay, this is probably my worst division rank, like predictions wise, out of all 8 of them. I'm not gonna lie. So I expect a lot of, if people actually watch this, I expect a lot of clowning on me in the comments for all 4 teams.
To be fair, this is a tough one to pick. I think this is kind of a 3-horse race. All kind of finishing with similar records. Starting off, obviously, with the Bucks. I kind of agree with you. I think they're around that 8 to 9 win range. Couple of keeping a couple of key free agents, namely Mike Evans, in the off season. But it's kind of the same team as last year. So I would expect similar results. Maybe Baker takes a step forward this year, newfound confidence in his newfound home, and maybe leads them to the playoffs again.
I want to see a new Baker Mayfield progressive commercial where they show him moving out of Cleveland Browns Stadium and moving in to the Tampa Bay Bucs Stadium as a callback. See what I did there? I can't take credit for that. I saw that somewhere online, but I think that'd be hilarious. I think the Bucs are going to be right around the same as last year. Lost Devin White. From my understanding, most Buccaneers fans don't consider that much of a loss, apparently. They're actually happier they kept David over White than if they would have kept White over David. So that was interesting, considering the age gap between the two.
Racist.
I think keeping Antoine Winfield was huge. Very underrated move. I think he's one of the top safeties in the league, so being able to keep him on, when a lot of people, myself included, expected him to be going somewhere else this offseason, I think is great. Same with Mike Evans. A lot of people, not myself included, but a lot of people thought Mike Evans was going to be gone. Brought him back. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. I could see Baker, taking that step forward with that newfound confidence potentially, but I just don't really see, with this schedule that they have, them being able to win. I don't see them being able to win with this schedule that they have more than 10 games. Because, I could count you probably 7 losses right here. Detroit. I gave them Philadelphia, but you could throw that one in there. Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, and then any division game. Any of the 6. So, it's a tough schedule for Tampa Bay. They're going to have to beat some good teams in order to make the playoffs, and it'll be interesting to see if they can do that. So,
but all their division mates play all those teams too.
Yeah.
It's a tough draw for them, and 10 wins could very easily win them the division, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I agree. But in order to do that, they'd have to probably beat a team. They'd probably have to beat one of those teams I listed. I guess not technically, but I don't. That would mean they'd have to win all the games they're supposed to win, and almost no team does that. Like, everybody drops a game that they're not supposed to. So, next we got the Atlanta Falcons. Last year, the Falcons couldn't figure out what the hell they wanted to do at quarterback. Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, went back and forth between the two of them, and then finally decided that they wanted nothing to do with either of them. Got rid of both of them, and actually decided to bring in 2 completely different quarterbacks in the same offseason that should both be starting next year, but we're only going to see one. Drafted Michael... Yeah, well, if everything goes well for the Falcons. Obviously drafted Michael Penix in the first round this year. A lot of people were kind of surprised by that. 8th overall, I believe. And the reason a lot of people were surprised by that is they had literally just signed Kirk Cousins in that free agency period right before the draft. So a lot of people were scratching their heads, wondering why would you draft Penix that high if you just signed Kirk Cousins. I get wanting to have that successor, but I think it would have made more sense if it was a guy 3 years younger or something like that. Michael Penix's age, he just doesn't have a whole lot of time. And his rookie contract, by the end of it, I think he'll be 29 or something like that. So it's better to start him earlier than later. Kirk Cousins, I think, will be good. I think, regardless, you guys will be fine in the grand scheme of things. Just think it would have maybe been more valuable to get a guy like Dallas Turner or Laiatu Latu or another edge rusher that maybe you guys liked, or D-tackle like Byron Murphy. But yeah, I think you guys will be good. I think you guys win the division. And I think you guys come out of the season kind of rough, actually. I've got you losing those first 3 weeks. You play 3 pretty good teams, in my opinion. I think Pittsburgh is going to be decent this year. I think with both teams having new starting quarterbacks, it's going to come down to the defense. And Pittsburgh's defense is much better than Atlanta's, in my opinion. So I've got them losing week 1. Philadelphia, I think they'll lose that one mainly because it's on the road, but also Philadelphia is just a little bit more experienced, a little bit probably proven than the Falcons are, obviously. Then you got the Chiefs, another game, probably going to have a tough time with. I think you lose that one as well, just because the Chiefs are one of the best teams in the league, and I don't know if the Falcons are quite ready to match up with those teams this early in the season without properly gelling. But then after that, I've got you winning 3 straight, so getting your record back up to 500, winning against all 3 division rivals right in a row, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Carolina, before taking another tough loss to the Seattle Seahawks and losing your second game to Tampa Bay, splitting with them on the year. So all of a sudden, you guys are back down to 3-5, and things are looking a little bleak for a team that didn't go all in this offseason, but bringing in Kirk Cousins was expecting a lot more. And I think at this point is when you guys kind of start turning it on a little bit. I've got you beating Dallas, beating New Orleans, and beating Denver right before the bye, going in with a 3-game winning streak and over 500 for the first time in the season, with a record of 6-5. coming out with a favorable matchup against the Chargers. I think you guys can win to get 2 games above 500. And then I got you losing a weird one at Minnesota on the road. I expect J.J. McCarthy, if he hasn't started earlier in this point in the season, or if J.J. McCarthy isn't the starter earlier in the season, I think at this point he'll probably kind of come in and maybe inject a little bit of life into a struggling Minnesota team. With it being on the road as well, I think that'll be a tough matchup that you guys just can't quite come up with. But then I got you finishing the season on a 4-game winning streak, beating the Raiders, Giants, Commanders, and Panthers right before the playoffs, where you should walk in with the division title, with a home playoff game. And a pretty nice little runway there into the playoffs with those 4 teams, I would think. 4 teams that probably won't be playing for anything at this point in the year. Should be fairly easy wins. In the grand scheme of things, obviously no win comes easy in the NFL, but these teams I don't think are going to be very good. Outside, I guess I do have the Raiders around 500. But yeah, I think the Falcons end up going 11-6, winning the division. I believe that's the 4 seed in the NFC, because I just got that conference stacked this year. As do I have the AFC, so.
My only problem with Atlanta is they have a lot of unproven talent. And whether that's because of how the offense was ran, quarterback play, whatever you decide, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they haven't really living up to kind of the expectations people had for them. I do think Kirk Cousins and or Michael Penix helps that case. I don't know their true talent level yet, so it's hard for me to really throw out, in my opinion, an accurate guess. I would venture to guess again 8, 9, 10 wins, kind of the same as the Bucs. Close race between these 2 teams specifically. And I think obviously Kirk was the get of the offseason for the Falcons, and they're looking to him. And I think he could be the difference maker in this conference.
Yeah, it'll be. I think Kyle Pitts and Drake London's deficiencies were a lot to do with the quarterback play and the offensive play calling. Jonnu Smith was on the field a little too much for me when you've got Kyle Pitts. And Desmond Ridder just could not be consistent whatsoever. So I get it's a chicken or egg situation, Is it the pass catchers can't get open, or is it the quarterback can't play football? I don't know. I would like to lean more towards the quarterback couldn't play football, but I think this season's we're gonna find out, because Kirk Cousins, we know, can play football, and he has for several years at a fairly high level. So I'm very excited to finally see what Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and even Bijan Robinson to a degree are going to be able to do with this new team.
And that wasn't me saying that they couldn't get open, that it was their fault that the quarterback didn't succeed. I don't think that they had great quarterback play, obviously. I don't know if they are the stars that can, put the Falcons over the top, and go on a playoff run.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, we don't know if Drake London's a real number 1 receiver yet. We don't know if Kyle Pitts is a real top 10, top 5 tight end yet, because we haven't gotten to see that. And I think I get what you're saying. I do think that's a fair question to have. So next we have the Carolina Panthers, a team that last year struggled to find any wins. Ended up with the first pick in the NFL draft that they weren't able to use. Luckily for them, they've got their pick this next draft, because I think they're going to be right in the same spot. I've got them winning 1 game. Got them winning a game against New Orleans at home in Week 9 that they could easily lose. I don't think they're going to go winless, but I can see it happen. I just couldn't bring myself to do that. So I gave them that win. I couldn't find a lot of wins on this board. Maybe they beat the Giants. Maybe Denver. I mean, I personally am higher on the Raiders than most, so I don't think you beat them, especially on the road. I think Justin Herbert and Harbaugh are going to be enough to beat you guys by themselves. Yeah, I just don't see a lot of wins here for the Panthers, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. I think you guys kind of know that, maybe? But you guys probably need to go ahead and start checking out some college film. So, I've got you going 1-16.
That is just a tough thing to say.
Yeah.
And to hear.
Yeah.
I'm kind of there with you. I don't see a whole lot of wins. I've got them with 4 wins just because I don't see any possible way it could be that bad again.
I hope not.
So, I see them squeaking out 4 wins. Tough season, I think.
Yeah.
But should be near the top of the draft order next year as well, and hopefully they can get another difference maker. There's just not a lot to say about the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm trying to say stuff. Deontay Johnson, I think, could be cool. He also drops balls sometimes. Xavier Leggett, but I think he just got hurt. I think he pulled a hammy or something.
Well, he'll come back.
I hope so. I don't know what else to say.
They got Brian. Oh, they don't have Brian Burns.
No, not anymore.
Is Cam still there to
Chuba Hubbard?
Help? Yeah, he was good.
He was good. I'm sorry, Caroline. I want you guys to succeed because I have nothing against you guys. I just don't see it happening.
That Panther thing hopping around the stadium, that's pretty cool.
That's the thing that they have. No, I think Bryce Young should hopefully take a step forward, but it's really going to come down to, is the offensive line going to allow that? Because I don't know. Is Bryce Young going to have any time this year? Because that was kind of the big issue last year. It also doesn't help when Adam Thielen's your best receiver at 97 years old and no one can get open. So hopefully the additions of Leggett and Deontay Johnson can improve upon that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot going good for the Panthers. Hopefully y'all already have your eyes on a good prospect. So finally we got our last team, the New Orleans Saints. And I want to preface this. I'm wrong. My prediction is not a
lot of things.
Yeah,
specifically this.
I am wrong about a lot of things, but I will tell you right now to your face, I did not get this New Orleans Saints prediction right, because there is just no way, there's no earthly way, no way on earth that you're going to be this bad. But I'm going to go with my original predictions and try to justify them best I can. So I've got you starting off the season 1-0. Beating Carolina.
And we get 2.
And then losing 5 straight. Dallas, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. Just a tough stretch of games, granted. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Dallas, I think are all, regular season, at least, powerhouses. So those are going to be 3 tough games. I don't expect you guys to win. The Falcons, I'd like to think are going to be better this year. So I think you lose that one, especially because it's on the road. Tampa Bay, a lot of people aren't going to like this opinion. I like Baker Mayfield more than I like Derek Carr.
Same.
And then I also think that the weapons the Tampa Bay Bucks have is better than what the Saints have. So I just think they're a slightly better team than y'all. Well, according to the records, they're a much better team than y'all, apparently. I've got you beating Denver. So on Thursday Night Football, I think you guys are just a more experienced team. So you guys should be able to make that turnaround a little bit easier than Denver is. You'll also be at home back-to-back weeks. So you don't have to travel on a short week. You get to stay at home, get that, R&R. And then I got you losing 5 straight. At the Chargers, all the way across the country. At the Panthers, really just because I didn't want the Panthers to go winless. I'll be honest, I'm sorry, New Orleans, but you're the only team that I have the Panthers beating. Again, I told you, this is not right. This is not going to be correct. I promise you that. I can tell you that right now. But I've got you losing to the Chargers cross-country trip. Got you losing to the Panthers as their only win of the season. I do have you not... Never mind. I've got you losing to the Falcons for the second time of the year, getting swept by them, and then losing to a really good defensive team in the Cleveland Browns, despite... I don't know. I might take Derek Carr over current-day Deshaun Watson. But it's closer than it should be. And then you got
but that Cleveland team is just much better.
Yeah, but that Cleveland team outside of quarterback is way better than the Saints. Then you head into the bye with a 2-9 record, so a season's already kind of lost. You're not even going to get to 500 at this point. You come out with that depression showing. You lose to the Rams right out the bye before picking up your last win of the season at the Giants. I do think you'll be better than the Giants, so something to be said about that. But not the Commanders, because I got you losing to them, and then losing to the Packers, Raiders, and Bucks. So finish the year 3-14. I once again, I'm wrong. There's no way you're gonna only win 3 games. There's just no way it's gonna happen. But I coordinated these wins and losses with the other team's wins and losses. This is what I came up with. I don't know how.
Well, whatever crack he's smoking, I've got the Saints with 13 wins.
Whoa! No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Too far in the other direction, pal. Too far in the other direction.
No, I've got the Saints again, right around that middle of the road, 7 wins. Probably a step behind the Falcons and Bucks in terms of contending for the division, but still in that race nonetheless. I don't have a lot of faith in Derek Carr. No. A, to win you a lot of games, and B, at this stage in his career to stay healthy for an entire season.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's been doing that his entire career. Yeah, they've got some good talent there, but I don't think that it's enough.
Yeah, they just don't have enough on offense specifically. Like I said, same as you, I don't think Derek Carr's I don't even know if he's top 20 quarterback in the league right now. I'd say he's towards the back end of top 25 even. I don't think the receivers are that great. Rashid Shaheed, maybe something, but we don't know yet. Is he going to be more than a deep threat?
I think Olave is good.
Olave really, for sure, yeah. Olave is good, but outside of that,
focus on Olave and
yeah, I think Shaheed's decent.
Mostly throw too.
But I think Shaheed's more of a 3 because I think he's a good slot kind of guy. Alvin Kamara, obviously. But, if they stack 8 guys in the box, he's only so He's only so lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that defense I don't think is very good. They're middle of the road, maybe slightly above
I think
average.
that defense getting old. I mean, they're still good, but they're getting old.
They're like slightly above average last year, I think. They've slowly been regressing throughout the last few years, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Cam Jordan can't play forever, so he's got to hit a wall eventually. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I don't think you're going to be as bad as I said. I don't think the Saints are going to only win 3 games. They should win more than 3 games. I don't, like you said though, Aaron, I don't see them winning more than like 7, maybe 8. And they were probably a step behind the Bucs and the Falcons for sure. So, here we have our NFC South predictions. Both of us think that the Falcons... Well, Aaron also thinks that the Bucs have a pretty good chance of winning the division along with the Falcons. I think the Bucs have an outside chance of winning the division, but think the Falcons should win it comfortably, assuming everything works out well with Kirk Cousins, gelling with the offense, all that nonsense. He's also saying the Saints could maybe sneak into that picture, but at least be the concrete third team with around the same amount of wins. I, for some reason, am just not as high on the Saints. I see them more towards the 3-5 win total.
Well, you too have them in that concrete third spot.
That's true, because I only have the Panthers winning 1 game, while you have them, a little bit more generous, giving them 4. So, yeah, I think this division could end up getting interesting. Like I said, I think I'm wrong about the Saints, so I could easily see them more along your line of thinking, sneaking up and possibly being a contender for that division title. But, again, assuming Kirk Cousins gels properly, I think the Falcons should be the favorites. But Tampa Bay is probably... Tampa Bay has a special place in my heart, man. I hope Baker can build off of last season and win the division for a second straight year, but I just think Kirk Cousins is going to be too good of an addition down there now. But unless you got anything else, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Sternberg Burkle, here with the coach today, Aaron. Go and say bye, Aaron.
Bye.
All right, please make sure to like and subscribe if you made it this far. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with any of our opinions. Specifically if you agree, because we need as much support as we can get these days. But, other than that, deuces, and have a good day.